What's up, Ravens fans? I see your YouTube comments saying, hey, are we going to get a mock draft? Well, here's how things work at Chat Sports. My bosses say, I don't know if that's the kind of content that they want. So what I'm going to do is show them this video. If we get enough likes on this video, we're going to be able to go ahead and get you guys a Ravens mock draft. So for the love of God, smash that like button. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to get into some Ravens cap cut candidates, which is essentially like trying to figure out which players you could potentially move on from to just create a little bit more flexibility with your overall cap space. Now, as it stands right now, Baltimore is in a good position, projected to actually have the most cap space. But when you consider the fact that you're probably going to have to go out and pay Lamar Jackson a hefty contract, it definitely wouldn't hurt to save a few bucks. Could the Baltimore Ravens decide to move on from Marcus Peters? Entering last season, he was the team's number 2 cornerback next to Marlon Humphrey. When you look at his overall cap hit, $15.5 million. If the Baltimore Ravens were decided to move on from him, they could save $10 million. Now, he missed the entire year last season because of an ACL, and definitely unfortunate timing. The Raiders and Ravens were getting ready to square off on Monday Night Football Week 1. There was a lot of excitement, and Peters has always been one of those flashier players, and when he's at the top of his game, he can be a real tough guy to deal with because he's definitely not afraid to go try to intercept the ball. He's also not afraid to get burned either, but that's one of the things that makes Marcus Peters great. Now, could the Ravens potentially look for a cheaper cornerback 2 option? That's definitely up there for debate. I love what I saw out of Averett this past season, who definitely is going to be a free agent and a very top sought-out free agent because of how well he played. But with Marlon Humphrey's injury, with Marcus Peters' injury, I'm not realistically sure if it makes a lot of sense for you to go ahead and bring him back at $15.5 million. If you're telling me right now I could save $10 million, invest that, and go out and get somebody else, it's probably the route I would go. He's getting up there in age, and there's no doubt about it. Back in 2020, 52 tackles, 4 interceptions, 9 pass breakups. And one of the things that I love that Peters brings on every single play is that swagger. And I can't even imagine how tough it could be being a cornerback in today's NFL when every single receiver is a diva. They get every single thing called for them. But for Peters, that dude, he goes out and he plays his heart out every single snap. So this is your opportunity to be the general manager of the Ravens. What would you do with Marcus Peters? Would you cut him? You can go ahead and type C for cut. Or if you're deciding to keep him, I want you to go ahead and type K for keep. Let's keep this train rolling here on Ravens Rundown. Tavon Young is the next cornerback that you could potentially move on from this offseason. He carries a cap hit of $9.18 million, and if you decide to move on from him, you save $5.85 million. Now, he definitely was able to step in here and there for Humphreys and for Peters last season, but if the team decides to keep Peters, Young might be dispendable. I mean, that's just really as simple as that. There's some good cornerbacks in the draft. Corner's definitely one of the bigger needs. And with some of even the bigger name free agent corners out there, with a new defensive system that's about to come in under McDonald, all I'm saying is a guy like Young could definitely be on his way out. At 5'9", 185 pounds, at last season, he had 1 interception, 35 tackles, and 3 pass breakups, was able to fill in nicely. But maybe if I was also Young, I don't know if I'm going to get another opportunity like I did this past year. You could potentially go out, try to get a bigger payday, or you might just want to go ahead and stay safe with Baltimore. I mean, here's the thing, though. At $9.18 million, that's a lot of money to just pay a nickel corner. That, I would say, is maybe average at best. Now, if you guys haven't already gotten some brand new Ravens gear, what the heck are you waiting for? I don't know about you, but my girl the other day was like, Mitch, what could I get you for Valentine's Day? What could I get you for your birthday? What could I get you for XYZ? I am always down to get some brand new gear. So if you guys want, go to the link that you see down below, chatsports.com/RavensCombo, where you can get this Ravens t-shirt and hat, which right now is 25% off. I'm just going to warn you, when we do deals like this on shows, they go quickly. So if you look at this, you're like, man, I got to get my hands on that. Go to the link below. It's going to be in the comments. It's going to be in the description of this video. Let's go to the next guy on this list. And this is somebody who I respect very, very much so, Alejandro Villanueva. He was actually one of my favorite players growing up. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I know you guys don't like this, but, you know, hey, he was a great Steelers player. $9.25 million cap hit this upcoming season. If you decide to move on from AV, you are going to save $6 million. The fact that Villanueva was able to step in for Baltimore when they needed him the most after Juwan James and Ronnie Stanley both got hurt, that's what you're looking for. And Villanueva is one of those dudes who, he's a great professional, plays his heart out, was a left tackle before being converted to right tackle last season. However, if both James and Stanley return, what the hell are you going to do with Alejandro? I mean, maybe you could trade him, or you decide to just move on from him. You got Stanley there at left tackle. James is the right tackle. Villanueva is definitely going to have some value as well, but if nobody wants to go out and trade for a tackle at the age of, 34, 35 years old, that's where you decide, all right, we're going to go ahead and just save $6 million this offseason. One thing I do anticipate is a lot of changes on the offensive line and the defensive line this offseason, which is another reason to hit that subscribe button. It's another reason to turn on those notifications because there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens the entire offseason, and I don't want you guys to miss it. Speaking of the defensive line, let's go to Derek Wolfe, defensive end for the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore under Wink Martindale played in a 3-4 system. Curious to see where Wolfe potentially might fit because I think if you go to a 4-3, I don't know how well it's going to fit his overall system. Making $3.8 million cap hit, $600,000 in saving, but if you wait until after June 1st, you can actually save $2 million. So Wolfe is more of a rotational player in my opinion, but I know some of y'all really like his intensity. The Ravens are thin at defensive line, and he is on the wrong side of 30, but look at this Ravens defensive line, right? You got Calais Campbell, who's going to be a free agent, Brandon Williams, free agent. Derek Wolfe's got 1 year left on his deal. I like Matabuke. I think he's got some upside. I personally have always been a fan of Jellies. I think they actually done a pretty good job for the Ravens the past few years. Washington, Crawford, but then you got Wolfe, who's at 6'5", 285-pounder, 51 tackles in 2020, 6 tackles for loss, 2 pass breakups, had a sack. He was able to move around the football field, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to just figure out players who you could potentially move on from just to save a little bit of dollars. So what is a bigger need, y'all, this offseason? The offensive line or the defensive line? Personally, if Campbell walks out the door, I might sit here and say it's defensive line, though finding solid offensive linemen that are great run blockers is very important for this team. Obviously, you want to be able to protect Lamar Jackson. He's your future. But I might actually go ahead and say D for defensive line. Now, to make sure you guys stay up to date on everything going on around the flock, we got you covered here. News, rumors. If you're looking for free Ravens videos, look no further. Hit that sub button and turn on those notifications. That way you don't miss a thing. Let's now go to the tight end room here. Josh Oliver, $1.07 million in cap hit. If you cut him, you save all of that. He's just buried on the Ravens depth chart. And if there's one position that I'm very confident in for Baltimore, it's with Mark Andrews. It's the tight end room. Didn't see a ton of action in 2021, and I think the Ravens could honestly look to move on. 9 catches, 66 yards. If somebody thinks that that's worth 1 point whatever million, I think you're a little bit crazy. He's a good athlete. He might get an opportunity somewhere else, but at this point, I think Oliver could be on his way out. Let's go to Miles Boykin, wide receiver for Baltimore Ravens. Tall, lanky dude. I actually thought that he was going to be something with his career. But when you look at the recent draft picks of like a Rashad Bateman, Marquise Hollywood Brown, let's just face it, he's never going to be anything in Baltimore. He's got a cap hit of $2.75 million. If you move on from him, you can save $2.54. He injured his hamstring and a broken finger kept him sidelined last season, and he's just simply not been a factor in the Ravens offense. So if you look to upgrade, if you're just looking to save $2.5 million, Miles Boykin could be on the way out. In 40 games in his career, okay, 40 games, 56 targets, 33 grabs, 470 yards, and 7 touchdowns. That type of production would be okay at 2.5 for 1 year, but when you consider the fact that it's been his entire career, yeah, you can see why he made my list. On top of that, your Ravens wide receivers. Brown's going to be your number 1. Rashad Bateman, I really hope that he can continue to get better. I've always been a big fan of Prochet. And then even Duvernay, he's impressed me at times. Sammy Watkins is a free agent, and maybe they decide to bring back the Lizard King, but definitely a player that could get cut is Miles Boykin. So after seeing the Ravens wide receivers, I want you to go ahead and rate the Ravens wide receiver core in 2021. Scale it from 1 to 100. 1 being it was terrible, 100 it was the best in the league.